The world of cinema has given us a wide variety of creatures ranging from the lovable Toothless and the endearing Dobby to the menacing Rancor and the creepy Pale Man. The last few decades have seen an influx of fantasy films, studded with computer-generated characters which are brilliantly realistic, such as the genetically advanced chimpanzee Caesar in Planet of the Apes and the hippogriff Buckbeak in Harry Potter. The evolution of movie creatures can be measured by King Kong's journey from the 1933 movie to 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, or by the deadly transformation of the sharks from the Jaws films to the ones in the Meg franchise. Through all this, Giger's aliens continue to remain iconic, just like the dinosaurs from Spielberg's Jurassic Park, which was a revolutionary milestone in the history of creature films. In this video, we bring to you some of the most interesting stories behind the making of such movie creatures. Did you know Sean Connery's Draco was inspired by the T-Rex? Or that the secret behind Benedict Cumberbatch's striking performance as Smaug was the Gollum juice? Stay on for the full ride for more such exciting stories. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. How the Lord of the Rings solved their problem with Balrogs. To start off the list, we have Durin's Bane, a Balrog. It is an ancient fiery demon which Gandalf battled in The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. The Balrog vs. Gandalf sequence, near the climax of the film, had a duration of some 4.5 minutes. But you'll be surprised to know that it took the animators months to manifest that piece of sheer brilliance on screen. And often during those months, the founder of visual effects studio Weta could be seen enacting the Balrog barefoot in the studio. One of the challenges that Weta faced while creating the Balrog was figuring out the physics and biology of something as huge as the horned demon. Like, what would be the pace of its movements and how fast would it fall? Apart from its humongous size, what makes the Balrog all the more menacing is its slow-moving mannerisms, and there lies an interesting story behind it. The creatures department at Weta that when something as huge as the Balrog maneuvers through the mines of Moria, its movements should be noticeably slow, thus making the demon all the more ominous. However, the team decided to cheat a little bit and add some speed to the Balrog when it was falling through the chasms of Moria to make the scene more impactful. Fun fact here, the animators initially chuckled at the virtual blueprint of the Balrog because of how silly it looked. But chuckling wasn't the last thing on Gandalf's mind when he saw Durin's Bane emerging from the shadows, prompting him to yell out, "Run!" The Balrog's battle and Gandalf had to be a war of magic and not one of physical prowess, because otherwise the Balrog would just smash Gandalf under its feet, and it would be game over for the wizard. Designing the Balrog's whip, which drags Gandalf into the chasm, was also a time-consuming process. The makers wanted to ensure that it looked like a trail of fire instead of a uniformly burned strip. H.R. Giger and the art of creating the best movie monster of all time. This list wouldn't be complete without H.R. Giger's Alien, which is undoubtedly the best movie monster of all time. What are the chances that Ridley Scott wanted to make an Alien movie when Giger was busy airbrushing canvases with surreal creatures? Alien director Ridley Scott was introduced to Giger's macabre sketches when screenwriter Dan O'Bannon handed him Giger's Necronomicon book of paintings. Scott fell in love with the painting Necronom 4 and roped in Giger as the creator of the extraterrestrial villains for his 1979 movie Alien. Giger wanted to etch out fresh alien designs for the movie, but Scott was already way too impressed by his previous drawings and wanted something exactly like that. Giger, who was brought in to design the primary alien, the eggs, and the chestburster, was also assigned the job to create the space jockey, his ship, and the planet LV-426. Basically, Ridley Scott wanted Giger to design everything alien. Giger was a Swiss surrealist painter with formal training in architecture and industrial design, and thus wasn't influenced by anything monstrous of movies past. He created the titular alien as a twisted biomechanical reflection of humans with protective armor and acidic blood. Giger's alien had its breathing apparatus at the back of the elongated head, a secondary mouth seen as phallic in nature, and a second set of teeth. Giger, who created the alien sculptures, used real bones like parts of a snake's vertebra for the exoskeleton, cooling tubes from a Rolls-Royce, and condoms for the animated lips. He then placed a real human skull at the tip of the head structure. Giger upped the xenomorph's terrifying quotient by deliberately depriving it of eyes. Giger said the alien would be more blood-curdling if the viewers didn't know where it was looking. Giger's surreal paintings were also heavy with sexual imagery, which reflected in his alien designs. The parasitic facehugger would impregnate its host through an oral attack. Giger's work on Alien earned him the Best Visual Effects Oscar in 1980. There have been plenty of Alien movies since then, but there hasn't been a better combo than the vision of Ridley Scott and the creations of H.R. Giger yet. The shark from Jaws has one of the strangest behind-the-scenes story. Did you know the credit for Jaws' eerie suspense goes to a malfunctioning mechanical shark named Bruce? Let us explain. At first, the producers wanted to train a great white shark for Steven Spielberg's 1975 movie Jaws. But owing to the laughable impossibility of the idea, the makers decided to work with 3 mechanical sharks, which they collectively named Bruce, after Spielberg's lawyer. However, Spielberg referred to the sharks as the Great White Turd after they gave him great trouble while filming. 3 versions of Bruce were made. One for the close-up shots, one for the profile views, and one for shots of the shark charging through the ocean. Spielberg, who tested out the sharks in fresh water, threw the sharks into the Atlantic off the coast of Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts for filming. It's too bad that Bruce #1 failed to stay afloat after the first day of the shoot. The rubber skin of the mechanical shark absorbed the salt water, ruining its shape. The remaining sharks constantly malfunctioned in the seawater, pushing the shooting schedule from 55 days to a whopping 159. The budget shot up, and so did a novice Spielberg's stress levels, prompting him to sleep with a celery stick under his pillow. However, the malfunctioning sharks resulted in something iconic, thanks to the brilliance of Spielberg. He decided to cut down on the shark's screen time and implement experimental camera angles to instill a sense of horror, like the shark's POV camera angle, which gave viewers a terrifying first-person perspective of the shark attacks. The beastly antagonist has only 4 minutes of screen time in Jaws, which Spielberg said made it a scarier movie. Interestingly, Star Wars director George Lucas was the shark's first-ever victim of sorts. While visiting Spielberg on the sets of Jaws, an enthusiastic George Lucas stuck his head inside the mechanical shark. Spielberg pulled a prank and shut its jaws, but the shark malfunctioned and Lucas was stuck longer than expected.
It only obeys me.
The Basilisk model in Harry Potter was truly unique. Next up, we have the Basilisk from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Remember how it petrified victims with just a stare? The deadly serpent living under Hogwarts was actually a blend of computer graphics and practical effects. Much like the shark in Jaws, the Basilisk 2 made its presence felt throughout the movie without actually appearing on screen, until it did in the climax, and hell was unleashed in the Chamber of Secrets. Evoked by Tom Riddle, the gigantic basilisk attacked Harry Potter and died a satisfying death when Harry pierced its head with the bejeweled sword of Gryffindor. The basilisk was so huge that Harry had to climb the stone mural to come face to face with it. To execute the scene perfectly, director Chris Columbus believed that Daniel Radcliffe required something tangible. Thus was created an actual basilisk mouth with eyes, nostrils, moving jaws, and retractable fangs. It measured 30 feet in length, with jaws as deep as 3 feet. Interestingly, the animatronic basilisk did not have functional eyes, as Fawkes gouged out its eyes before it could attack Harry Potter. The fangs were cable-controlled, which means they retracted when the jaws closed and released as they opened. All the slithering that the basilisk did was the work of CGI, but the fight sequence involved the actual animatronic snake. The production team created another model, a basic version, to show the basilisk's corpse. However, it started to decay after it came in contact with water and had to be sprayed with disinfectant. The basilisk's skeleton was also seen in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which was an actual sculpture measuring 8 feet in length. The story behind the 600-pound animatronic Jarnathon in Dungeons & Dragons. Jarnathon better be your favorite character from Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, because he is just the coolest. Jarnathon is an Aarakocra, which is a race of avian humanoids in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Jarnathon is introduced at the beginning of the movie as the instrumental character who unwittingly helps protagonists Edwin Darvis and Holga Kilgore escape imprisonment and go off on their own adventures. Jarnathon, who is a member of the judges' panel, is forced to jump out the window with Edgin and Holga on his back. We get a glimpse of Jarnathon's innocence when he screams out in fear about being suddenly airborne despite being a bird-like creature. To make a Birdman seem believable on screen, the production team opted for a full-fledged animatronic puppet instead of resorting to visual effects. Jarnathon's costume came with a set of wings weighing a whopping 600 pounds, which required to be supported from the ceiling through lines. A behind-the-scenes video showed a crew member walking through in Jarnathon's costume and stretching out its wings as a test run. Co-director John Francis Daly said it was a nightmare to shoot with wings that heavy. Resorting to practical effects for Jarnathon proved to be a hit as he immediately became a lovable character. Jarnathon successfully gave off a sense of tangibility, which is quite an achievement for a character as beyond belief as him.
I feel your air.
When Benedict Cumberbatch nailed the role of Smaug in The Hobbit. "I am fire, I am death," are the words that sum up the menacing growling dragon, Smaug. In The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, Benedict Cumberbatch, aka Marvel's Doctor Strange, played Smaug in the 2013 movie And How. Cumberbatch was not just a voice artist for Smaug. He put on the motion action suit and slithered on a gray carpet at the studio while enacting lines such as, "I kill wherever I please, and none shall stop me." There's a bunch of interesting BTS stories from the Smaug's making, like the one about Gollum juice. By the end of a sequence, Cumberbatch would be soon drenched from exertion that he needed to refuel with the Gollum juice. It was basically a lemon-honey-ginger concoction, which Andy Serkis used to sip on while voicing the creature Gollum. Funnily enough, Cumberbatch auditioned for the Smaug with his face away from the camera, and director Peter Jackson thought the camera was mistakenly framed that way. Cumberbatch clarified it was solely to check how he sounded as Smaug. Cumberbatch was greatly influenced by his dad's narrations of Tolkien's novels from when he was just a kid, and admitted that he kind of ripped his dad off for his portrayal of the growling, talking dragon. "He's getting a cut," Cumberbatch joked in an interview. Peter Jackson said, "We wanted someone who would do something original, unexpected, and something that was a surprise to us. And who better than Cumberbatch to infuse some personality into the monstrous creature?" Interestingly, Smaug was given 6 fingers so that it could animate with its webbed hands as well. Its anatomy was inspired by the keel of a bird and the wings of a bat. How the movement of the dragon was perfected in Aragog. Safia from Aragog takes the crown for being the prettiest of all dragons that ever existed. Grayish-blue in color, Safia took a year and a half to be designed on computer, after which the animators perfected her with scales and feathers. Safia, voiced by Rachel Weisz, was an elegant, protective dragon, which made her stand out from the menacing trope of dragons frequently seen on screen. In order to perfect her movements as graceful, the animators drew inspiration from dinosaurs, snakes, eagles, and lions. Let us elaborate. Despite having the traditional anatomy of a dragon with a long neck, a long tail, head horns, and huge wings, Safia was as feminine and majestic. Safia, who could communicate with her rider Aragog through psychic abilities, was assigned emotive eyes, much like that of a dog or lion, who can express their emotions through their eyes. Safia's face had mammal-like qualities to make her more lovable. Her facial skin collected up in a bunch when she growled, and she got throbbing temples with a clenched jaw when displeased. Her nostrils, too, flared up like a lion. Safia's flying style was made to resemble an eagle's elegant flight mannerism. She had to flap her wings just a few times and then play along with the wind. Safia was given feathery, stretched-out wings to make her look regal, instead of menacing like a praying dragon. Safia was initially to be made into a brilliant blue dragon, as described in Christopher Poloni's book, but the makers toned down her color to make her more realistic. In the movie, Safia shared a protective camaraderie with Aragog, but in reality, Aragog actor Ed Spielers had difficulty connecting emotionally with a tennis ball that was to be replaced by a CGI Safia later.
Again? And again? How do you like the ride so far?
The fun story behind T-Rex creating Dragonheart 1996. Did you know that Draco from Dragonheart and the T-Rex from Jurassic Park are related? We don't mean biologically, but structurally. The lovable dragon Draco was modeled after the menacing T-Rex from the 1994 dinosaur movie, all thanks to the visual effects studio Industrial Light and Magic, which worked on both the film. Draco was voiced by Sean Connery, and the animators went to great lengths to match Draco's mannerisms with that of Sean Connery's. An animated dragon sounds like a difficult plan to pull off in the 90s, but the makers succeeded, and the first step towards success was taking the T-Rex from Jurassic Park and making it talk in Sean Connery's voice. Without a dragon model in hand, the animators picked out the most complicated dinosaur they could find to start off with. They also used pterodactyl wings on the talking T-Rex to make it roughly resemble a dragon. One of the lead actors curated a collection of Connery's on-screen facial expressions to make Draco resemble the actor every step of the way. To ensure Draco stands out as a dragon with emotions, his face was given an ape-like structure and a shorter nose to match a shorter mouth. He was designed with teeth that wouldn't obstruct the tongue while talking, and given lip curls to match Sean Connery's. A brand new software was created to just work on Draco's expression. Draco indeed was a unique special effects character that could hold its own with real actors. The secret about Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia. Who doesn't love Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia? The majestic lion from C.S. Lewis's fantasy world of Narnia was brought alive on the big screen with visual effects, but the character received its heart and soul through Liam Neeson's voice. Aslan, who was believed to symbolize Christ, was introduced in the first Narnia movie, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in 2005. The King of Beasts was all CGI then, but for the second Narnia movie, Prince Caspian, a creature actor was roped in to play Aslan, with Liam Neeson returning to voice the character. Like Aslan said, "Things never happen the same way twice, dear one." Shane Rangi, who transformed into Aslan in Prince Caspian, explained in an interview, "The main reason we're playing physical this time is that Lucy interacts with him, and from a digital point of view, it's hard for them to create hair around where she hugs him and stuff like that. So basically, I'm just there for visual effects. When she hugs Aslan, they just do a splice, roto it out, and then put that onto the digital lion, plus for eyelines as well." In the scene where Aslan returns to Narnia in Prince Caspian, Lucy hugs Aslan so hard that she pushes him to the ground and wraps her arms around his mane. That visual, paired with the magical background score, is one of the most emotional scenes from the Narnia film. By the way, did you know Brian Cox was the first choice for voicing Aslan? But after hearing him as Aslan in the recording studio, director Andrew Adamson replaced him with Liam Neeson.
You're Aragog, aren't you?
Hagrid has never sent men.
How difficult was it to create and control Aragog in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets? If you have arachnophobia, you might want to skip this one because Aragog from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was every bit real. Aragog was Hagrid's pet spider in school, which grew to humongous proportions in the Forbidden Forest. Aragog belonged to a magical race of giant spiders called Acromantula and had a penchant for human flesh. This meant Aragog had to be a big, hairy, and scary spider. And in order to achieve that, the production team created a mechanical beast with a 10-foot body and a leg span of over 18 feet. The hair on Aragog's body comprised of broom bristles, bits of feathers, and coconut fibers, which were individually sewn into the creature. The production team had to brainstorm to create a spider that was really old, and Aragog was given 8 sightless eyes. Aragog's model was based on a wolf spider, but on an amplified scale, and thus, the makers decided to show Aragog in a dark setting of the Forbidden Forest, because otherwise, a huge talking spider would just look silly. The challenges did not end up with just sculpting the animatronic spider. The Aragog model alone needed an overall crew of 97 technicians, with 15 people just to physically operate the model. 4 crew members would just be in charge of its rear 4 legs. The operators would push out the mechanical spider from behind the frame to give the feeling that Aragog was crawling out of his lair towards Harry and Ron. Speaking of the 2 troublemakers, Daniel Radcliffe was creeped out by the Aragog model on set, and it scared the living daylights out of Rupert Grint, just like his character Ron. "I'm really scared of spiders, so I didn't know really what to expect, but when I saw Aragog, it was really scary because he was massive. It really made me feel uneasy. I didn't like looking at it at all," he said in a behind-the-scenes video. All he wanted to say was, "Arania exume!" But he was too scared to cast spells, we guess. Well, that was a lot of mind-blowing trivia. All thanks to these fascinating movie creatures. Be it the majestic Aslan or the monstrous Basilisk, they all come with impactful screen presence and equally baffling backstories. Which one of the behind-the-scenes anecdotes piqued your interest the most? Tell us in the comments below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and stay tuned for more marvelous content.